Hello, and welcome to the University of Manchester Accommodation Talk. My name is Paul Burns, and I manage the accommodation office. Today, over the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to explain to you all that you need to know about applying for accommodation, securing an offer, the choices in front of you, the things you need to be thinking about when you make a decision about accommodation, and some other related details, not least the cost. Before we get into the main body of the talk, though, I want to start by considering the following. The pictures you can see in front of you are of Unsworth Park. It's our newest development located in the Fallowfield campus. It houses 1,100 students living in flats of 10 students per flat, each bedroom having its own shower, hand basin and toilet. They're called ensuite rooms. And the 10 students in a flat then share a common kitchen and dining room. It's the most popular hall we've got. Last year, over 6,000 applicants applied for the 1,100 bed spaces. And I mentioned that right at the beginning of this talk because it's really important to understand that in some instances, demand far, far exceeds supply. And it's really important that you understand that whilst we're guaranteed to make an offer of accommodation at Manchester to all first-year undergraduate students, what we cannot guarantee is to make an offer that meets exactly your requirements. So with that really important caveat in mind, as we progress through this talk, I want you to remember all the time that not everything is possible. So how are we going to go through this? Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the processes involved, about applying for accommodation, what we do in terms of allocating and offering, and how you would go about accepting an offer. Then I'll focus primarily on some of the choices in front of you and available to you, and then we'll talk about cost and some related factors. So the first thing you need to know is that you need to apply for accommodation and apply separately from the UCAS process that you may already have started or that you will be going through. Every university has a different process when it comes to accommodation, and so what you hear from me applies only to the University of Manchester and no other university. And similarly, those things you hear from other universities about their accommodation systems, please bear in mind that what they say applies solely to them. So you can apply online via our website, the accommodation website, the address for which appears on the final slide of this presentation. The application form will go live on December the 15th, 2023, for those people looking to enter university in September 24. And you can make an application once you've received an offer to study. With the offer to study will come a university ID number that's unique to you. It's not your UCAS number. It'll be an 8-digit number that will be on your offer email. At Manchester, we don't really care, certainly the Manchester Accommodation Office, we don't really care if you hold a conditional offer, if Manchester's an insurance choice. It's irrelevant to your ability to apply for accommodation. It's a really simple rule. If you've got an offer to study with us, you can apply. And when you apply, we ask you to select 5 halls in order of preference. More of that later. So you apply, and then apart from receiving an acknowledgement from us that we've received your application, nothing else is going to happen until A-level results, which is usually the 3rd Thursday of August. That's A-level results in England and Wales. And on A-level results day, we start allocating accommodation. And then the day after, we start making offers. And we make offers every day throughout the rest of August and through September. We don't do it on a first come, first served basis. So if you were to apply on December the 15th, when the application form goes live, it doesn't gain you a particular advantage over and above someone who might apply in April, May or June. However, I would suggest that you get your application in before midnight of the day A-level results are released. So that would be the Wednesday before A-level results are released. If you apply before midnight on that date, you will be part of a very large cohort of people who we consider as we allocate and then offer. The guarantee of accommodation, which I'll speak about in a bit more detail in a moment, says that we will guarantee to make you an offer of accommodation if you apply before the 31st of August, and we will. However, I would suggest getting it in before A-level results are released in England and Wales. And when it comes to making an offer after we have allocated accommodation, we will make that offer by email, and it will go to the email account you put on your application form when you applied. So please make sure that when you apply, you're going to use an email address that you'll have access to post A-levels. And the final step, after you've applied, we've allocated and we've offered, is that you need to accept the offer, bearing in mind that we will only ever make one offer of accommodation. So you've got 4 days from the email to accept the offer, and at the time of acceptance, you need to make a payment of £400. This is called an advance licence fee payment. It's essentially rent in advance and comes off your first instalment due in October. And in addition to making that payment, you will be expected to have read and taken in the terms and conditions, and you'll tick a box to say you've read and understood and accepted those terms and conditions. And when all of that's done, your room in the University of Manchester secured, I would advise you to accept an offer, even if it's an offer which doesn't match one of your preferences, because we don't guarantee to make a second offer of accommodation. I would say accept the offer and then write to us asking if it's possible to change to an alternative. And sometimes we can help with that, not always, but sometimes we can. I said we don't guarantee to make a second offer. So what do we guarantee in Manchester? Well, we guarantee that if you're a single person, i.e. we don't guarantee couples or families, we don't have enough accommodation of that type. So we guarantee for a single person coming on your first degree, and you've obviously met and accepted the conditions of your offer to study here, whatever those conditions are, we will make an offer of accommodation to you if, in addition, you've applied before the 31st of August and you're coming for a full academic year, which currently means September through to June. This guarantee extends to all first-year UK undergraduates. And when it comes to international students paying international fees, then the guarantee of an offer of accommodation extends throughout your academic career with us. So let's get onto the main body of this talk, and that, of course, is about choice and what choices are available to you and what things should you think about when you're exercising those choices. And I would divide it into 3 main areas: the way you get your food, the hygiene arrangements, i.e. where is your bathroom, and I'd also consider the location, but I'll explain later why I think the location part is the least important of these 3 factors. But these 3 factors will have a significant impact on your experience, and the first 2 will have an impact on the cost. So let's go to the first one, and the things you need to think about when it comes to food. And it's a binary choice. That choice is between self-catered and catered accommodation. Self-catered meaning in a small flat, maybe of 3 or 4 students, possibly 10 or even more students, in a flat where you share a kitchen, you individually and possibly with your friends are responsible for cooking for yourself, whatever that may be. Alternatively, catered accommodation is where breakfast and evening meal are provided for you, in some instances 5 days a week in the Fallowfield halls. In Victoria Park, it's 7 days a week. Breakfast and evening meal is provided, and you come together to eat with all your hall mates from your hall of residence. And these 2 ways of food provision offer quite different experiences. I know that most students at the start of their at this process we're in now, the application stage, this period of your university life, most people think they don't want catered accommodation. It comes along with a lot of negative connotations. So I'd like to disavow you of some of those. A lot of people will think, or rather won't think, of the benefits such as the enhanced opportunities for socialization afforded to you when you were eating amongst a large community, as opposed to when you're eating in a small flat with 3 or 4 people and your other flatmates are out doing different things. It's something to think about. In addition to the enhanced socialization, there's also very simple practical matters of time management. For many people making the adjustment to university life, those first few months away from home with new things to study, new things to do, having something done for you, such as having your breakfast done and your evening meal done for you, and in addition, not having to worry about the shopping, and in addition, not having to worry about the cleaning up and all the other associated factors with preparing a meal. That helps with time management when there's so many other things to do. And a really important factor, increasingly important in this day and age with increased cost of living, with prices going up, food inflation being particularly high, a lot of people like to know that throughout their period in their first year in a catered hall, it's taken care of, it's included in the rent. So the issue of budgeting is less of a challenge. I'm not saying it's still not a challenge, but it's less of a challenge than perhaps facing those who are in self-catered accommodation and need on top of their rent to then find money for food and other associated costs, cleaning products and the like, and pots and pans. So there's a socialization, there's a time management, there's the financial management that catered accommodation can offer over and above self-catered accommodation. And in addition, of course, there's the key point, the food. So I hope you'll be pleased to know that our food is provided over a 4-week cycle. With no repetition over those 4 weeks, and every night, Monday to Friday, there will be a meat choice, vegetarian, fish choice, vegetarian, vegan option, range of side dishes, salad bar, desserts, hot and cold drinks, breakfast, a full English breakfast, a vegetarian version of that. There will be pastries, toast, bread, other items. Basically, it's a fantastic choice that you can find yourself, certainly at breakfast time, having a really good feed so that you don't need to have some massive lunch which you're paying for on the main campus, and then you come back in the evening and you can have a really good dinner with your friends before settling on whatever it is you do for the evening. And in terms of this is the final point really about catering, is it's also quite a nice environment. The pictures you can see here of the dining hall in Ashburn, which is a fabulous hall in Fallowfield. Again, lots of people think, oh, I don't want to go to Ashburn because it's a bit old-fashioned. But I actually think there's a wonderful sense of tradition, a wonderful sense of really living at university as opposed to just living in a block of flats. You're living in a quite special, unique environment, and Ashburn Hall is a great example of that. One little point to note is that for ordinary student meals, we don't set the tables as you can see them in the picture here. I've just included those pictures because I think they're particularly nice. We would only set the table like that if you were to tell us that you were getting married, and I'd like to suggest that in the first 9 months away from university, you give that one a miss. But it really is a fantastic environment at Ashburn. But alternatively, of course, I know that for many people, self-catered accommodation is very attractive. And when it comes to self-catered accommodation, wherever you are, the kitchen that you're sharing will have enough cupboard space for you, usually one cupboard above and below the work surface. There'll be a hob, an oven, a microwave, a kettle, a toaster, and cold storage. But everything else you're responsible for providing. We don't provide utensils, pots, pans, plates. That's yours to do. And of course, the key element is you need to buy your food as well. So you need to factor that in over and above the rent that you're going to be paying. Obviously, how much you pay on food is a very personal thing and varies from person to person. So I can't really give any advice on that, but it's something you need to bear in mind. The kitchens vary in size depending on the number of people sharing them. So the first kitchen that you saw on the left will be a kitchen for 3 or 4 people. The larger kitchen you can see on the right is at Unsworth Park, where 10 people will be sharing that. So clearly there's more cold storage, there's more cupboards, there's an additional hob, an additional oven, and so on. So now we need to move our attention to matters of hygiene, and basically where is the bathroom for many people at this stage of the process. En-suite accommodation is what they want because, again, because of negative connotations attached to sharing a bathroom. I think I can understand why people have some levels of anxiety about this, although I'd venture to say it's largely misplaced. Shared bathrooms are not, in my opinion, scary environments. Typically, there'll be one facility for every 4 students. So if there were 16 students on a corridor sharing a bathroom, you would expect to find 4 showers, 4 toilets, 4 hand basins, maybe in one large bathroom or in 2 separate bathrooms. But you can see from the picture here in the right, the cubicles there have a space where you can go in, lock the door, get changed, and then go into the second part of the shower area, the actual washing part of the cubicle area, uh, and have a shower. If you have an ensuite facility, you're going to pay anywhere from 50 to 60, maybe £70 a week more just for having an ensuite. And of course, don't forget you're responsible for cleaning that ensuite, because our cleaners, whilst they come into shared bathrooms twice a week to clean, they don't come into your bedroom nor into your ensuite facility. That's your responsibility. So it's something to think about, both in terms of what the relative advantages and disadvantages are, how comfortable you are with those, and of course, at all times, bearing in mind the cost. Rooms vary massively across the university. We've got 8,000 or 8,500 bedrooms, so there's all sorts from the ones pictured on the screen now in an older, more traditional hall. This was in Ashburn, where, like an older sort of Victorian house, perhaps the dimensions are more generous with thicker walls, higher ceilings, a bit more space when compared to perhaps a more modern room. This is in Unsworth Park. But wherever you are, when you first move in, it's going to be quite bare and quite stark. So whilst we provide a study desk, a chair, a wardrobe, a bookshelf, a bed, and a mattress, we don't provide bedding, we don't provide a duvet, we don't provide pillows or bed sheets. You need to provide those things, but in doing so and bringing your own things from home and stamping your own personality on the room, that bare room that you first move into when you're dropped off during welcome week can become a room that you turn into something akin to home, and a space where you can feel comfortable and safe. So I've spoken about food, I've spoken about hygiene matters, the bathroom. The final thing to speak about really is the location of halls, and there's 3 residential campuses: the City campus, Victoria Park campus, and Fallowfield campus. Fallowfield is the furthest away from the academic buildings. The academic buildings are located largely in the area of this map that you can see here, the purple circles. The City residential campus is also the academic campus. In between the City campus and the Fallowfield, you can see a green circle which marks out the Victoria Park campus. Victoria Park and Fallowfield have catered and self-catered halls, and in those ensuite and shared bathroom facilities, the City campus is all self-catered, and again, a mixture of ensuite and shared bathrooms. The furthest you could be away from the academic buildings would be in the Fallowfield campus, which is, depending on where you study, maybe 3.5 to 4 kilometres, maybe 4.5 kilometres, i.e. not very far. So whilst the way you get your food and the location of your bathroom will impact on the rent you pay, the location of the hall itself has very little impact on the levels of rent, because everywhere is relatively close. Manchester is actually, certainly the academic area and the residential area, is really quite compact. And it's very easy to travel around with excellent bus routes, with it all being flat in this area, great for cycling, running, walking, really not a problem. Something to mention before I come on to some details about how you would register for an e-accommodation account and apply for accommodation. Something to consider is that in the Fallowfield campus, we've been really pleased this summer to announce first a public consultation process as we go into hopefully developing the Fallowfield area over the next few years to make it into a much more attractive proposition. But of course, with any building work comes disruption through demolition and disruption through construction. So please bear that in mind if you're applying to Fallowfield. It will, over the next few years, become a really busy area, not only for all the student life and activity, but as we redevelop things. It's a really exciting project, but it obviously will have an impact on the local community. So let's look at some sort of key things you need to know when it comes to applying for accommodation, beyond which I've already mentioned. First of all, I'd do some research. Use our search facility. There's some filters you can place on it, depending on your student type, with an undergraduate or postgraduate, what type of bathroom you want, what type of catering you want. We've mentioned that already. And when you've chosen those filters, up will pop a list of halls that match those. Do note that when it says price per week, it says from, because in some halls we'll have a number of different room types. So it doesn't mean all the rooms will be at that price. Some will be more expensive than others. New prices for 24-25 won't be published until the spring of 24. So do take into account that what you're looking at now are prices for this academic year, and they will be more expensive for those entering in September 24. So you do a bit of research, and then what you need to do is apply. So you click on the how to apply, it takes you to the application page, and then there's a purple box there that says apply for accommodation, and that's what you do. But before you apply, if you haven't yet done it, you'll need to register for an e-accommodation account. So this box pops up. Make sure you click on the register button to highlight it in black, and then you would add your university ID number, your family name and date of birth, and then go through an email verification process where you select your own password, and then you go back and log in. And once you've logged in, you can then add the 5 halls in order of preference that you would most like to receive an offer for. Bear in mind, as I said right at the beginning, demand outstrips supply for certain types of halls. So Unsworth Park, 1,100 bedrooms, well over 6,000 people expressed a preference for that hall. So whilst we guarantee to make an offer, we do not guarantee to make an offer that exactly meets your requirements. It's really, really important you understand that. So this is the penultimate slide before I say a final bit about communicating with us. So in terms of costs, and bear in mind that the costs on this screen are for this academic year, not necessarily the academic year you're thinking of coming to Manchester. And bearing in mind that with 8,500 rooms and numerous price points, I can only really show 2 extremes. And those extremes are our cheapest accommodation at Oak House, which is approximately £115 a week, through to our most expensive accommodation, which is en suite and catered at Dalton Ellis Hall in Victoria Park at around about £225 a week. Between those 2 extremes, I would suggest many rents come in at about £165 to £185 a week for a typical ensuite room that's self-catered. Our contracts last mostly for 41 weeks, although some halls are 42 weeks. One hall is 40 weeks, but whichever let length you have, 40, 41 or 42 weeks, you can be assured that it's your room from when you move in September through to the end of your contract in late June or early July. There's no need to vacate at Christmas or Easter. Included in the rent, obviously in catered halls, food's included, as I've already mentioned, but everywhere there's no additional bills for heating, for water. Personal possessions insurance is included. Every hall has a bike shed. If you do bring a bike to Manchester, make sure that you come with some really good bike locks, as bike theft is a problem, as it is in most large cities. Every hall has access to Wi-Fi, and really importantly and very proudly, every hall has a fantastic ResLife team who live in the hall, who live there, led by professional members of the ResLife team who manage the provision of support, advice and guidance to students in whatever form it may be needed, whether it's just how do I access my local GP, to how do I go about organising a trip with my friends, how do I organise perhaps a large social activity in the hall to get to know people, or how do I speak to someone in my department, in the academic department? What support services are available? Res Life are there in hall offering out of hours support, weekend support to people at various times of need and in various stages of need. It's a fantastic support service, rivaled by none and included in the rent. There's some additional things you'll find in some halls will have music rooms, a couple of halls have gyms, most halls have nice communal spaces where you can meet with your friends outside of your flat or living area. All halls have a laundry. That's not the use of the laundry is not including the rent. You need to pay for that at the time of the time you're using it. And all halls will have associated admin teams who are there during office hours to assist with some of the bureaucracy that's involved in dealing with a university of our size. The one thing that's not included is the attitude you bring, which hopefully will be a positive, inclusive, sharing attitude, one which will embrace the very many challenges that come when you're living with people you've never met before. No one will pretend it's easy. That's one of the reasons why we've got the Res Life team there to support you. But if you come, I would suggest with the right attitude, willingness to muck in, deal with differences, however they present themselves, I think living in hall of residence, especially in your first year away from home, is a fantastic rite of passage, a fantastic introduction to independent living, a fantastic way to meet lots of people and start that process from that transition from home to true independent living. So I would strongly commend it to everyone, regardless of the type of hall you live in. And I think that that last thing I've said there would apply to any university you may end up applying for and going to. Now, I'm very conscious that there will be some questions I've not addressed, especially questions of a personal nature, which in the forum, the nature of this presentation, I can't answer directly. It may be you've got a particular medical need, a particular disability, a particular dietary need, or some other concern, some things you're worried about, which a talk of this nature can't really address. So we are aware of that. Therefore, do a bit of search on our website. You might find the answer that you're looking for, but don't hesitate to email to us, and you can see at the bottom of this slide our email address. Send us an email if you've already got an offer of accommodation. You can, not an offer of accommodation, sorry, an offer to study. Include your university ID number. It helps us to find your record quicker. Write to us and tell us what your particular concerns, worries are, questions are, the information you need. Anything you write to us will be treated in confidence, and we will do our best to get back to you with the most relevant information you need to help you make a good choice. So on that, I will conclude this presentation. I hope it's been of use, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day at Manchester, or if you're viewing this at the end of the day, I hope you've had a lovely day in Manchester. Best wishes for the future, and thank you.